All right. You got your drink on for today?
I tried to start before noon, but
It's past noon by the time we start. Hello and welcome to Another Dead Pixel. We're a podcast about video games, anime, entertainment, life, a little bit of everything in between. I'm your host, as always, Joe, and with me, the gentleman who's going to teach you about the 250 years of drinking culture in America. How you doing, Nick?
doing pretty well. Yeah, I mean, I guess this is America 250. It's I don't know how much people know or care about the revolution, but and I'm not sure how accurate this is, but I think it's a good story, so I'm going to say it's true that basically the revolution. I hope there's British people listening to this. I really do. I that the revolution was spurred on, fomented by pub culture. Like there was people would get mad about different things that the British were doing, and instead of tweeting about it, they would go and get drunk at the pub because it was the 1700s, and they would just rant and rave about it, and then get all riled up and be like, "Yeah, those British don't have a right to tax us without representation, and we like blue more than red on our coats, so we're gonna switch to that." And yeah,
Unless if you're in the well, I mean, it's one of those things that it's most definitely like, you know what, it's a good idea. We should totally throw that tea in the harbor. F those guys. And then be like, come on, you don't have the guts to do it. And it's like, oh yeah, yeah. Like then yeah, that's a drunken spur of the moment thing. And
I,
then
I,
mob mentality.
I do like some alt history. I don't say alt history, but like some um, alternate views, alternate takes on historical events. So, like for this one, there are some people, I don't particularly agree, but there are some people who are like, the United States really didn't need to start the American Revolution. Um, and I mean, in some ways, they're kind of right. Like, if we had not started the revolution, did not start the rebellion, or if we had lost the revolution rebellion, then it either way we were going to be separated from England and become our own country, no matter what happened, just because enough people and an ocean separating. You could look at what happened to Canada and I guess Australia too. That's just too far to manage, once the population gets large enough. But but yeah, like I mean, the revolution, like they were like to me, it's like, yeah, maybe America didn't have to start the war or whatever, but really Britain could have made a lot more money and had a lot more power for a lot longer if they had not done some of the stupid things, like the no taxation without representation was just way too far. They were doing a lot of other things that were just not cool, and they could have been more reasonable and kept hold of the colonies for a lot longer. But I think that's
Yeah.
probably enough drunk history
Well,
for today.
like most things, we didn't need to start it, but we did need to finish it. So let's get started with the news. Nick, we're going to go a little bit backwards this time around because some neat things have been said and shots have been fired. So let's go.
Right. So we're gonna start with the news. As you said, the biggest news uh, is that Sony is planning to end disc production starting January 2028. So basically, the end of 2027 is when discs are going to no longer be printed by Sony for PlayStation. Um, and yeah, people are irate. I see why people are mad. I do feel it's a bit performative for some people. Not that it's unwarranted, but performative in that we have known this was going to happen. This is an eventuality. The tea leaves have been being read in this way consistently, year over year over year over year for a very long time. Um, and so, I mean, I'm not really surprised that it happened. I guess I don't know if you had asked me like when I thought that they were going to end, discs or end physical media, at least for, let's just say, just for PlayStation. Um, if I'd really thought about it, I probably would have said, well, I guess before PlayStation 6, but then again, I might have said, well, maybe they're going to have it for just one more round and then that'd be it. But yeah, it makes sense that it's now at the very longest than the PlayStation 6 would have had it, but they decided that they're through with it.
Yeah. All right. So Sony predicted this back in 2000 with the PS9 ad, where it was that sphere.
Yes.
So no discs involved in there. So we knew that at least canonically
PS9 was
Sony.
not going to have it.
So we have proof of, and then honestly, I would have said I would have thought the PS6 would have had it, but then I thought PS7 they'd probably go without. Mostly also for backwards compatibility issues. So I'm wondering if they're going to have a design in which they can maybe utilize the external disk drive like they have, currently for the Pro. Maybe they'll have a way for you to plug that existing unit in, or they might reconfigure the skin, the outside, to somehow make it, because they are happy selling the drives. Unless I guess I'm not really sure how much it's cost to make, but they seem to be sold out quite often because they don't seem to be making enough. Uh, and a lot of people want to be able to play their old physical media. So fingers crossed. I'm hoping they're going to have some sort of external drive hookup or some attachment for the PS6. It does make a little sense. Granted, probably the PS6 would have had a disc in it had we not had the whole uh, world going and catching on fire. RAM
Hmm.
shortages aside, if things came out at a regular rate, um, if it's like all the way back from, like, I guess it kind of fall out from COVID, right? COVID, supply chain, AI boom, all that stuff has been drawing out these console generations longer. And now that, because by the time people started the rumors of the new PlayStation 6, they're like, well, it just felt like it just got started. Well, PlayStation 5 at that point had been around for like 3 years, you
Yeah.
know? So in the normal time span, you're like, oh yeah, 7 years or something like that, you'd be ready for a new console. We would have gotten a cheaper PlayStation 5 by now, a slim, a real slim, not the kind of what they made. So it is a little different now. We're now like the worst timeline, as a lot of people say. And part of that worst timeline may be not having a actual disk drive, so you can't watch any physical media, let alone play any of your old games. But I would think if they want to at least kind of do a little hearts and minds, a little salvaging with the audience, at least announce that the capability of either hooking an external drive or having an attachment to make it so it's a all-in-one unit. I understand maybe not wanting to have a SKU necessarily for a all-in-one box, but I guarantee that will sell much better. But they're also proving that the PS5 Pro sells just fine without a disk drive. So it's kind of hard to say for sure.
Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, I want to say that Sony clearly doesn't give a shit about hearts and minds, and I guess we're back to the cadence of where they care and then they do a good job and then they don't care and then they do a bad job and then they care and they do a good job. I thought with PS4 and PS5 we've had a pretty good stretch of like they kind of figured out like okay, this is where we don't step in it. Like this is how we don't step in in our own feces here. So on the one hand, it does seem like they don't really care about that anymore with this, but on the other hand, I kind of think they might be trying to get rid of they're trying to get all the bad news out before they have to start pushing the PS6. Um, they can say, okay, we're not going to do disc games anymore, and it's still a year and a half before discs actually are gone. And then I think you might be right, that they can they can let this kind of news die down, and then whenever they release the PlayStation 6 or start talking about it, they can say, and we're going to have a proprietary Sony PlayStation disk drive just for you. And that will, on the to the layman, on the one hand, it'll be like, hey, they're trying to give us what we want. But on the other side, it'll be like, yeah, but we can charge, instead of $100, we can charge $130, and we can piecemeal it to you, because we know that like most casual gamers are not going to care. They're not going to want to get the disc drive. They're just going to be like, I'm just going to, and most parents too are going to be like, I'm just going to save $100, and instead of it being $100, which is still probably too much, it'll be $130, because it'll only be for core gamers, and it'll increase the margins, and then we will start to get. It's like vinyl. I mean, that's what discs are becoming. They're becoming. I mean, vinyl is a disc, but like Blu-ray discs are going to become vinyl, where GTA or whatever big game, or whatever, kickstarted game is going to say, hey, there's a stretch goal, and for the Super Ultimate Collector's Edition, we're going to actually go get a Blu-ray printed, and you're going to be able to buy that and play that and use that on your disc drive. It's going to become like a specialty collector's thing, because because physical space, just in general, is becoming harder and harder to come by. It's going to become kind of a luxury thing to have things. I think I was watching Penguin Zero's video on this. He was pretty irate. He was quite mad, and I think he's into like games preservation on like an official capacity. So I don't really blame him for that. But he was quoting, the I think pretty famous article of like, you will own nothing and be happy, kind of thing, and that this is just another kind of push toward that direction, I think.
Yeah, so I'm in two minds of this. I one have given up a lot of physical media over the time because of moving overseas so many times, just moving cross country. Having physical media is really rough.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, having digital backups of your physical media on hard drives, that's okay. That's only one hard drive. You plug it into a thing, media server, and then you're good to go. But when it comes to these games, unfortunately, it's more difficult to keep the games. Every now and then, you'll see a company try to do something where, like, yeah, you just pay a few extra bucks, we'll upgrade you for free or for a small fee. Uh, was it the Nintendo did it for a little bit for the Wii U, or the Wii to the Wii U. You were able to upgrade for a small fee your digital games, um, and PS4 to PS5 games like Tetris Effect. You can pay to have your game upgraded to the PS5 version, which wasn't a bad. It was like $10, and I think it was worth it. Now Xbox, for the Xbox One, of course, got flayed alive when they were like, "Yeah, we're going all digital." They were just ahead of the curve, and they were trying to force their hand a little too heavy-handedly. And like we mentioned before, they're not Apple, so
Yeah.
they didn't have the fandom, the fervor, the mindset. So for them to say something outlandish like that, gamers like, no, we have options. Especially Windows people, people who are used to like circumventing the law
Right.
on a lot of things. They're like, no, we don't have to listen to you. And that's when Sony pulled away, being like, hey, we kind of flopped with the beginning of the PS3, and so here we are, PS4. We're gonna come out swinging. You can share your games. all that stuff. Hand it to your friend. Well, guess what? You can't share your games anymore. But a couple,
Yeah, people have been pointing that out. The commercial where they're like, "This is how you share games with PlayStation," and then one of the executives handing the game to the other executive, and people have been throwing that back in their face, and they had to know that was coming.
to be fair, sign in on your friend's system.
What?
Work it, and then yeah,
Who would
it's
do
like
that?
anyone who's willing to save money and a large library.
And really trust their friend.
Yeah, really trust her. Hey, just make sure you double authenticate your purchasing power, and maybe don't save your credit card on your account. But at the very least, have it set up so even if they knew your password, they'd still have, or they'd have to know your password. I'm sorry, to complete a purchase. That's then therefore you're safe. But once again, Sony has fallen from good graces. But then again, all the companies have stumbled. They are getting more greedy. Things are becoming more difficult. Everyone's like, yes, it's more difficult to make games, and that's fine. We understand that. We understand that Nintendo 64 cartridge was outrageous. Super Nintendo cartridges, were outrageous. We understand that the cost of being a gamer sometimes is expensive, but now with an oversaturated market, it's harder for the smaller fish to be noticed. But at the same time, there's a lot of really good, mediocre, like what do you call it, the B tier, the C tier games are really coming through. Like, hey, this is for the price. Like the game is just good enough. Like this is quite enjoyable, but for the price, it really then elevates it up to a higher tier. Now, when it comes to the whole digital market, it's just like, hey, we don't have the right to own anything. Well, that's only going to be pushed even further by people like, well, then maybe I should pirate. I should have a digital copy on hand. Maybe I should have a system in which it can play these games on my computer. It's just like
So about that, I was kind of thinking about this since the news came out a couple days ago, and I was like, I thought of Steam. Like Steam has been digital for over 20 years. They went digital with one of the Half-Life games, I guess Half-Life 2 in 2004. People brought this up on Reddit, and they were like, why did Steam get away with it? And somebody posted like, bro, they didn't. Like people go read forums from that time period. People were extremely angry about all that stuff. And so I did some more, kind of digging into what people were saying about it. And basically, Steam knew what they were doing, knew the vision that they had early. And they knew, and there was plenty of other discs, physical media was in no danger of dying in 2004. Not realistically. It was still 20 years away, more or less. And so and Steam was fledgling, and there was no guarantee it was going to survive. And so people, said, well, we don't like this, but they're just a little company that makes one game and has like a weird client that they want you to launch. Who cares? So they got in early, and people are just okay with it now. I see a lot of people saying like, oh, I'm just going to go play games on PC. It's like, dude, when is the last time you actually saw a disc for PC? Like, I haven't seen one in Walmart or Target in, maybe I just wasn't looking, but in a very long time. They used to have a whole section for PC games in those stores with boxes and everything, and that's gone away. So that's sort of where I kind of push back on that. But the other thing is that the valid argument, though, is that Sony, PlayStation, and Xbox, and Nintendo, those are closed systems. So you're stuck with what they are handing out if you want to play their games. The difference being with Steam is that you're talking about a download of a game on a PC where you can ostensibly crack it, do whatever you want if you feel the need. So there's a lot more like pushback ability from your average user for any game that ends up on Steam. And so like I think that's kind of where people are a lot more relaxed about Steam being all digital, because yeah, it's all digital, but I literally have the game like downloaded on my computer. I can like rip it, I can look at the code, I can do whatever I want with it. Whereas PlayStation, it's much harder to do that, and it takes many more years before people can actually crack it open and then emulate and stuff like that. So I just wanted to kind of bring that up and point that out. And I mean, it's not that I want to give I don't want to give anybody a pass. I want to hold everybody like accountable for kind of what they're doing. I think that people give Steam a little bit more of a pass, but it is and I mean, I don't know. To me, like I just knew this was coming. I just knew that all of this was going to happen eventually. And I mean, personally, I have decided a long time ago that this stuff is very temporary and temporal, and if you want the true like experience, like you have to shell out the cash and play a game when it's in the zeitgeist, when it's brand new, and I mean, if you really want like that like level of experience. Otherwise, you know, you can just wait and it's fine. Like you can do either. But gaming and gaming brand new, it comes at a premium.
Yeah. So when it comes to the Xbox, you know, like they made their mistakes, and of late, what they do is they do like we'll do one good giant step forward, then they'll fall back on their ass, and then
Take
they'll pick
9
themselves
tiny
up,
steps back.
and then they'll take another giant step forward, and like they shouldn't be, but they're acting like a small child. And one of the things that they're saying now is something that like even Steam did a long time ago, which was like, hey, try to. The rumors are Xbox is trying to find a way to convert your disc games into digital. Now, there was a few games for a while, for a handful of years, that Steam was like, yeah, punch in your ID code, and we can give you a digital copy on your Steam account. Now, Steam gets away with this a little bit more. Or why does Steam get away with it more? Well, because they started it this way. They didn't start off like, yes, they had Half-Life 1 as a disc, but as far as their website, you know, as far as the because Valve didn't start that way, but Steam did, you know, so that's kind of the splitting hairs. But when
Right.
Steam started, like this is our store, this is all digital, this is what we are, and kind of like Apple Music, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, this is Apple Music, you know, you can't really get this like you can't get this anywhere else. You're gonna have a hard time moving this to anything else other than Apple. We're gonna
Mm.
make this really irate, like you may not, some people may not like it, and that's fine. They don't have to participate. But for those who do, it's a matter of convenience. And that's kind of how I feel about the digital market. I love having physical stuff. I prefer having digital books. I prefer having digital games. I love having the library. My life does not allow that. My economic bracket does not allow it. I do not have all the shelf space in the world. If I could have a freaking library with a rolling ladder, you know, zip around the entire place, yeah, you better believe I'd have it. But unfortunately, I do not make nowhere near that kind of income. And so for that end, I moved over to digital. Every now and then I'd be dumb and I'm like, hey, guess what? That physical game is on real good sale for the holiday, and then way cheaper than it is on digital. Had I been patient or willing to pay the extra money, I'd be much more satisfied with the digital version, because there's nothing worse than having to get up and change your disc when you're in the middle of, you know, like if you're jumping between games. Like we're lazy by nature, most of us. I honestly say so, and especially when I'm in
Proudly.
VR and
Yes.
I'm in the headset, I'm like, I had a copy of Tetris Effect, physical, because I got it for like half off or something like that. Relatively like right after it came out, there was a holiday sale or something. I'm like, oh, that's a killer price. I barely played it because I'm in the middle of VR. I'm playing one game for a little bit, then I play another one. I don't want to take off the headset, go and pop in a disc, double back, put on the headset again. It's just encumbersome. It's just a little step. It's a step too far. But what isn't? Hitting the menu button, scrolling over to my game, and hitting play. That is super nice, super convenient. Red Dead Redemption 2, same deal for me. I had the physical version. Um, I made the mistake of buying Horizon, in the original Horizon Zero Dawn, like physical, which didn't have the DLC. Then when the DLC came out, it never went on sale, and then eventually the digital version of the complete game was cheaper or as expensive as the DLC. And so I'm like, well, it's so cheap now that I just bought the whole game, with DLC for the same price as the DLC was by itself. Like that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I mean, like if you want to be 10 years behind, you can play games for nothing. I mean, like basically all B games come out um, almost like after 10 years, they're basically free. I mean, they're like a couple dollars. They have like a down to $5 like discount. Even AAA games after 10 years, you're talking about like $10 for, at certain times of the year.
I'm saying within 3 years, like more like
Yeah.
two. Within like 2 to 3 years, your $60, $70 game becomes $20. Like
Yeah.
so, for $20 for a relatively new game that you just didn't have the time for because you have so much on your back catalog.
I mean, I'm
Boom.
just I'm just talking about the extreme. Like
Yeah.
wherever your price point is, there's a point where you can wait and you can get that. And I think that digital probably, I don't know. I guess I guess physical media was that way as well. I don't know how much Super Mario World retained its value into the PlayStation One era. But I'm mad. But I seem to remember that those games, the Super Nintendo games, got extremely cheap whenever they were just trying to move all of that, like all of that material. But yeah, it's
All right. Super Mario World is maybe a different story because it came packed in with every system.
well, I guess
Um,
what I mean is like just like I mean I kind of remember this, but something that Colin Moriarty always used to say was that like he remembers when there were gigantic bins in Walmart of Super Nintendo games marked down, and you're talking about like the classic, the most like coveted games that were marked down to literally $5, $10 a game because they were trying to get rid of them in the like what early 90s or early to mid 90s. Um, like those days are people are kind of wiser to that, and everything's digital now, so that's not really going to happen. But like there's always something like that will happen. You just have to be able to like look out for it. I don't know. I feel like we've gotten a little bit like I've gotten a little bit off topic, maybe, but I did want to bring up a couple other things here. I guess the smaller thing is that the Xbox's Project Helix is rumored to also not have a disk drive. I wonder if Xbox was, and to that firstly, to that I say no shit, especially now. But I kind of wonder if Xbox was like, I wonder if they were like, I bet that if we just wait, then Sony will rip this band-aid off for us, and we will not have to take the hearts and minds hit. Otherwise, we're just going to have to wait until we are actually going to announce and just say, hey, no disk drive. But they got lucky
like
here.
Nintendo with the $80 game, once again, it's better to be on board than the icebreaker, and so it's like to jump on board that bandwagon. You're like, yeah, all right, well, us too, like, yeah, it sucks, but us too, at least you're not the first one. And now like I said, it's rougher because you're like, well, you kind of used to argue the fact that, well, the disk drive, the physical media, okay, costs money to make, to send, to store, to the logistics of going to every department store or every like supplier, but also you wanted that facing media. You wanted to be someone to walk by the store, be like the grandma, grandpa, to be like, here's the physical, here's that thing for the grandkid. We've evolved now, and even the
You mean
elderly.
devolved?
Yeah, maybe.
Sorry,
We've
I had to do it.
adjusted. We've adjusted.
Yeah.
And so now we are looking. It's like a lot of people can digital buying digital isn't as crazy as it was. um you are a freak for using a check, as a checkbook,
Wow.
so
I don't even know if like your grocery store Gen Z checkout person would know what to do with that. I think they would just say, "Sorry, we don't take checks."
well, that's the thing. It's just like, other than a few certain bills or something like that, like there's very rare chance that you actually need to pay for a check. And so times have changed. It's all digital. It's like, you can do a direct wire transfer from your checking account, avoid fees, things like that. So now when it comes to the games, you're looking at this being like, hey, well, if you don't want to spend, there's always ways around it. You can buy a gift card, use the gift card for currency. Um, if grandma, grandpa, or someone doesn't know what you want, well, they can get you the gift card so you can get what you want, and that's fine. Um, it's very little need. Now, when it comes to once again, Xbox did a really good job of backwards compatibility. That after they screwed up so heavily in the beginning of the Xbox One, their announcement, they're like, "Hey, we're going to spend a lot of time letting you be able to play your Xbox 360 and some of your Xbox One games, being able to play a lot of those like with better quality, better frame rates. It's actually a better experience than playing it on the OG hardware." Uh, but you need a disk drive. And so I can see that article being like, hey, we're looking at making those things digital one way or another. I'm kind of curious how that's going to play out. But that would be a huge convenience, being able to have my entire library on, on a hard drive ready to go legally, because it's like, and then getting to keep my discs on my shelf in a collection. What I think is, and to a certain point, that's always like that. Oh yeah, we're gonna give you a box, GTA 6 empty box with a code in it, but you get to have that box on your shelf because it fills. You have your GTA 3, through 6, all of them lined up nice and pretty. The boxes are there. That's all that matters. Yeah. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like they do have a lot of like games that were digital only that they'll sell you a box for $10. Like that's, and you can have it on your shelf, and you can, I mean, if you care about like I that's one thing I kind of like. I think it's the way it's going, but I also don't really mind. It's like, hey, this is like my like goated thing. This is like my favorite thing. You know, can't let's just say Kingdom Hearts 2.8134869. Like that's like my favorite thing of all time, and I have like the figures for it, and I've got like the collector's ultra edition, and I've got like the like the box for it that I just bought or whatever, or the disc collector's edition whenever they weren't even printing discs anymore. Like that's fine. Like that's like if as long as that can exist, in conjunction with me just being able to buy it digitally, or I say buy, what we really should be saying for all this stuff is rent. Like you don't buy digital things, you rent them. That I mean,
you lease them. You lease them. Yeah.
you lease them. Yeah. These things are leased. The EULA like that we all sign and don't read, don't lie. You've never read one. You've maybe read a paragraph. Okay, maybe 3 paragraphs before you literally fell asleep. Like you're not. No one's reading these things, but we're all signing them. And whenever you see a EULA at all ever, you're renting. You're renting everything. I mean, even your PlayStation makes you sign a EULA. I'm pretty sure whenever you log on. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Steam is the same thing. You just like it's just saying you're using this temporarily. No matter what we're asking you to pay for it, you're just using it temporarily. We can change it, we can move it, we can kill it, we can sell it, we can decide to ruin it, we can do whatever we want with it. And that's why it's as cheap as it is, because like part of the reason why it's as cheap as it is. So like if we just stop thinking, like we just have this old world thinking of like buying and owning and controlling things, and it's just not like that. You're it's like the goblins in Harry Potter. Like they believe that the person that made the thing is really actually always the owner, even if they like let somebody else buy it. It's like the ownership goes back to the person who made it. So anyway, switching over to kind of the final topic on this section before we move on to the next Sony thing. And this is kind of what I thought right when, maybe 5 minutes after I heard the announcement of them going no disc, Sony going no disc on the PlayStation. Basically, some believe that this no disc move hints at when the PS6 will be released. And literally the thought that I had after I thought about it for a minute was like, okay, so we know now that PlayStation 6 is being released Christmas, or at least for the fall of 2028, because discs are going away in 2028, and we should ostensibly have the PlayStation 6. I would assume Christmas, possibly in the late spring summer, but I would assume by the fall.
All right, my argument is going to be, that's a good safe assumption, 100% safe. I'm just going to say 2029 at this rate, because they're stopping the disc, but there's still going to be like a tail end of the current games.
Right.
They're probably going to mandate like a new thing with any new developer being like, hey, all right, you can produce discs up to a certain amount of time for the old system, but because the new system is going to be all digital, you might as well just focus on that. Um, you know, the I wanted to say before the technical difficulties was, we have a really strong market for bringing the limited games, like bringing digital to physical media, printing them. Now it's going to get more exorbitant because you're going to have to find workarounds. But if there's no player on the new console, no way to play that medium. I'm kind of curious what they'll do. I mean, they might instead just give you a code and then just create nicer collectible items. I'm not 100% sure on that. There's been demakes of things. So like, hey, and then for the first couple of years, there's going to be a cross generation. Like you get it for the PS5 and PS6. Um,
Yeah.
so that you can still be like, hey, well, guess what? Your PS5 still works. So if you wanted the physical version, here you go. It may not look as good, or they might not do some of the bells and whistles, so. But I'm kind of curious how it's going to impact that collector's market, because once again, people are willing to spend like $100 on a reprint of an old cartridge game, and like when you have a lot of these digital games, they come out with a lot of extra stuff that you normally wouldn't get from brick and mortar collector's edition traditionally. Uh, One of the ones that we talked about last week was Eastward, and how it came with like a board game, and stuff like that. It's just like
Right. Yeah.
it was a really big fit, and then other ones would be like, hey, it comes with the soundtrack. That's kind of been here and there, like with the old ones, or like we'll give you like BioShock gave you I think it might have been the pre-order gave you, or it might have been the actual picking up the pre-order, a sampler. It was like a single, so it came with like 3 or 4 songs, one of which was like Bobby Darin's "Under the Sea,"
Okay.
uh, and a few other songs, the including the Big Daddy figurine for the original BioShock. You know, so we're gonna figure. I think that people are of two minds. Where like one group of people are like, I want more tchotchkes in my house. I want more figures. I want more stuff, cluttering. Then they got the other side where like, no, 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 no. I'm either too old for that crap anymore, or I don't have enough space in my apartment. I want, more of a streamline, but how many people have ever looked at a digital art book? Like, full stop. Like, I feel like, yeah, after the first time you looked at it, how many other times have you looked at it? Like, you're like flip, flip, flip,
Twice.
flip, flip, and you're like, cool. And then maybe
I've
once
looked
other
at
be
a
like,
digital
hey,
art book twice.
be like, check this out. Check this cool picture. This one, like one or two cool pictures. Like, is that really good? All right, I'm done.
Technicality. I have to
Yeah.
I have to ask a technical question. On purpose? Um,
Right?
on
I,
purpose, probably not.
what's this file I have on my system? Open it up. Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I've
the
done
thing
that a
is,
couple times.
like I said, digital art books kind of suck. I mean, they're good if you are in the art space and you want to draw, or like you want to.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
maybe if you want to
specific to
wallpaper it,
yeah.
but it's a hyper specific thing. Like the old ones are at least kind of cool coffee table books. Like, hey, I just literally have them. Uh, but as a whole, I still have like the Mass Effect one and a couple others just like collecting dust on my shelf.
So there's a bunch of Miyazaki art books that they've made for each one of the movies or whatever, and they've been super. I mean, they're pretty expensive, but they go on super sale every once in a while on Amazon, and I bought like 6 of them, I think. And I have like a bunch of others, but they're like physical books. Like they're hardback, they're nice, they're fun to look at. They're large. I have a bunch of digital art books as well, and it's like, this is cool. Okay, I see what you're doing here. It's not the same. Like there's less pomp and circumstance. It's less of a ceremony to like actually look at them and read them, because it's just not fun to read a book on a computer. Some people can do it. I've never been able to really do it for very long. But yeah, like I don't know. But I think that as digital truly becomes the absolute norm, then all you're going to get is a price rise with a standard game, and that's going to start to be just the thing that happens, and it'll be up to the creators, the developers' discretion as to whether or not they give you any bonus stuff or try to give you a physical media pack or something like that.
Yeah, I'm just curious about in the long term, game space. It makes sense why Sony pulled out of PC market. They don't want people pirating their stuff, especially now that they're going all digital, especially now that they're going to try to make things more expensive. That's the first thing people are going to do. Like, hey, your game is on PC. I'm going to pirate the crap out of that. I mean, your game doesn't have to be on PC, but if it's low spec enough, like Nintendo, people are going to pirate the crap out of it. That's why Nintendo's lawyers have to go ham. I don't like Nintendo's lawyers going heavy on things. I can understand the piracy issue. I do see that going after YouTubers who just promote your stuff and talk just lovingly about your games. Nintendo can go fuck themselves on that one.
I mean, like whenever somebody pirates and then re-uploads a game in 4K, whenever this would happen for the Switch One, I mean, I was always kind of like, Nintendo, this is a monster of your own making. Like, you guys, when you made the Switch in 2017, when you released it then, like digital media and blocking all that stuff up was a very well known, understood situation. But you guys continued to decide to go down like that route where like things were not locked up and the whole freaking game was on the disc, was on the cartridge. Like, thanks for doing that, I guess, but it's also like, this is why everybody else went away from that, because if you put the whole thing on there, then it's just, you could just, it could fall off a truck somewhere, you can rip it and then upres it to 4K and run it on a PC. It's, so yeah, to your point, yeah, they had to have I mean, like, gosh, like Nintendo's lawyers have to be like the best in the world, right? For how much work they get put through.
Yeah, it's so as far as this goes, though, I think PlayStation, the next PlayStation Yes, I mean, it won't be coming in any earlier than 2018. 2018 is a safe bet. I still think.
2028.
I'm sorry. I said my bad. 2028. 20. So yes. So I think it won't be any earlier than 2028. But also at the same time, I'm like, well, who knows how many more quote unquote logistical issues, uh, other parts, labor, whatever happens. It's probably going to be 2029. Granted, it should have been like here and now, pretty much. But
I think that if they get a whiff of prices going down and continuing to go down on RAM and stuff like that into 2029, like if they project out and they go, look, let's say iBoom is petered out and we have a clear shot in 2029 to make this thing super cheap. To me, that would be the biggest reason for them to push out, is to go like, hey, we can give, I don't want to say give people, but we can sell a lot more units by having a lot cheaper than otherwise, system. That would be the best reason to me. If they don't see that, I think that we are looking at 2028. I think this being a year and a half, this announcement being a year and a half in advance is a play toward getting the bad news out of the way. So you have 18 months before you even have to really start announcing and talking about your next system, and then it's old news and stuff like that. That's just my opinion. I did want to talk about this other thing. Sony.
Wait. I just gotta say, you're a sweet summer child if you think that they would be nice to us. What they do is they'd be like, oh wait, prices are going down. It'll cost less for us to make. Sweet, we're pushing it back, but we're keeping the price the same because once again, they're priced to anticipate the scalpers. So if they could hold off, make it for cheaper later, and then keep the same profits,
That's basically what I'm saying. Is like if you have to sell it for, let's just say, I mean, God, where are we at now? $1,200, because that's, I mean, honestly, I mean, I'm
Steam machine. Got it. Yep.
Let's just say $1,200. You have to sell it for $1,200 in 2028. You're looking at 2029. Prices going down, but wages going up. Blah 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 blah. Economics. Blah blah blah. Well, we can still sell it for $1,200, but people won't be as mad, and we'll make 32 cents more per unit. Let's do that. They will, 100%. Yeah, you're right. They will do that. It won't be for us. It's just they will see the writing on the wall as like they can make more, and maybe in order and provide value so they can make more in 2029, if that's the case.
All right. But yeah, you were about to say something?
Yeah, so, Sony, they're just piling on. I don't know. I guess Studio Canal was like, with their week, we can try to get some more money out of them. So basically, Sony's going to remove 550 movies from user accounts. These are movies that users have purchased, and this is due to a licensing dispute with Studio Canal. I don't know which movies. You'll have to go look that up yourself, but it's 550. Studio Canal is not nobody. I mean, I've definitely heard of them. I don't know what movies they make, but they definitely make stuff that you've heard of. So that they're just having to remove these from user accounts because of this dispute. I mean, this kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier about the EULA and how you don't really own anything and any of that. But yeah, it's just it's pretty wild that this would happen literally the same week that they are talking about the end of disc, like the end of physical media. This is kind of what we're talking. I mean, like, this is sort of the perfect storm of like what we're talking about. Level of like, well, somebody at Sony didn't dot all the T's and cross all the I's on the contract with the, GTA game, and now GTA is not going to be available to play or purchase or anything, here in year 5 after the games come out because of a contract dispute. Like, that's sort of the nightmare future that we're headed for, where every time your cable company gets in an argument with like HBO or Fox or whatever, now you no longer have access to that like that channel and that content, which is, to the physical media people's point is like, yeah, like this is a thing we're trying to avoid. If you own the thing, then nobody can, if you at least own the licensure or whatever of the thing, then nobody can stop you from playing it when you want to.
Yeah, there's when it comes to the whole digital place, it's like a lot of the old contracts. They never foresaw re-releases, right? So therefore, there was a lot of gray areas. That's why certain things couldn't have been re-released uh, right away, and that's why the new contracts were like, "Hey, this is for us to do with as we please for like in perpetuity. Like, hey, we're licensing your music for this, whatever catchy song. We want to be able to keep this with this property for as long as possible." Uh, or then that's why certain things are like, oh yeah, they had to take that game off of Steam. They had to, no longer allowed to have this because of some stupid licensing issue, like Alan Wake's Lime in the Coconut. At least that's the reason why that was the reason I remember hearing that they had to remove it from the marketplace. But then it came back on later, but a while. But yeah, it's like at the time, it was like very rarely do games get removed, you know, but it was music issues and games like Tony Hawk or GTA, where they have the radios and stuff like that, and a bunch of music that you have to like. Yeah, we licensed you for this run, this one singular instance, but we didn't expect you to re-release it on to upgrade it or remake it. Um, you know, the old game, the loophole is like, well, technically, we're buying the digital old version. Like, well, how does let's bust out the lawyers. What does it say? And nowadays, we've stumbled, we've learned they know how to write those contracts. Like, hey, your voice, we're going to use that voice forever. You death be damned. And,
Yeah.
it's like, but as far as this property goes, and then some properties are like, yeah, even after this property, we're still going to use you and butcher you and disgrace your remaining image. Be happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way it's going. I think Dave Chappelle has a thing where he explains like kind of why he quit doing the Dave Chappelle show or the Chappelle show. He basically says that they write the contracts to say we have the right to everything that you do in perpetuity throughout the universe, throughout this universe and any other. And it's like, okay, like they write it so that they just own you completely. Yeah, but I mean, like it's just it's a tough spot to be in. And that's kind of why I'm like, if you want it cheap, then you have to wait. But if you want access to it at all, you have to be early. Like the only thing that we can pretty much guarantee is that, just to keep using GTA as an example, Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be available on the PlayStation 5 for a year. Like you need to get in on it. And that's a pretty short time frame when you're talking about a game that may, be playable for 10 or 20 years on various platforms or whatever. But like that first year, that's really realistically all you're guaranteed. More than likely, you're going to get to have chances to play it on different blah, 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 because people want to make money and all this stuff. But like my philosophy is like, you got to get in early because you never know what's going to happen. And if like you've played it and you've had your 100 hours or whatever of playtime, and then somebody decides to do something, you're going to be like, man, I don't even care. Like I've already got what I wanted out of that game, and you're just ready to move on.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's finally move on from this topic. And what else do you got for us, Nick?
I got two things. Number one, so I guess I'll lead with the big thing. So I bought it. I bought a Switch 2.
Fucking shill. Okay.
I was thinking, but yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so I bought a Switch 2 and fired it up it wanted me to. I mean, like I don't. It didn't have to, I guess, but I signed in and it said, "Hey, do you want to transfer your data from your old Switch?" And I was like, "I guess," and so I did that, and that was kind of an ordeal, but didn't really take all that long. I just had to actually charge my other Switch, but I charged that up and then got the stuff switched over. No pun intended. And then I bought the $500 version, which is the 450, and then it comes with a game. So I don't know how much money I actually saved. It's like a few bucks, but they give you a choice between Mario Kart, Donkey Kong, and Pokopia. And so since Pokopia came out this year, I was like, I'm going to go ahead and get that. Donkey Kong, I don't know. Otherwise, I might have just chosen Donkey Kong because I heard that was really good. But anyway, I went with Pokopia, so I'll be playing that a little bit later. But I decided to play a little game I hadn't touched in quite a while. A little game called Eastward. And I am pretty sure that I did not actually beat this game. I'm pretty dang sure. If I did, then I just completely forgot that I did. But I'm pretty sure that I got to the final boss and just was like, I don't want to go through this trifle. And I'll just deal with it later. And I got busy with some other game or whatever. But the last time I played this game, Eastward, was back in 2021. And so I decided to fire it up. And I was like, okay, and I'm at the final boss, or at least I'm pretty sure. I'm going to go ahead and just give it a try. I'll probably die. First try. Haven't played the game in 5 years. First try, beat the final boss. Clearly not that difficult. I definitely screwed up a couple times, but I was able to beat it. Took me less than 30 minutes, probably about. I literally had about 25 minutes of time left on this game, and I did not touch it for 5 years. But I can now say that I beat Eastward in the year 2026, so it'll come up in Game of the Year, at least a little bit. But that's so I'll talk about Eastward a bit. It's a nice game. It's flawed. They talk too much. The characters talk too much. The gameplay is kind of is enough without really being anything too spectacular. But the backgrounds and the semi-pixel art style, retro style is very nice, and the music is also very nice. I thought the music in this game was pretty good. The gameplay is good enough, for sure. But yeah. So anyway, I finally beat Eastward.
Well, now that we get to hear about all the games that you never finished on the Switch 1 being rehashed on the Switch 2, the Breath of the Wilds, Tears of the Kingdom, only two.
Xenoblade Chronicles.
Yep, this is not. It's gonna be a sad remaining of the year. No, it's one of those things that's like, you've been hunting and wanting a reason. We can most definitely tell you got a bonus. No, but,
well, I was telling you before the cast, it's a 5 paycheck month. So yeah, it's these are rare. They happen a couple times a year, and whenever they do, it's like, oh, daddy, we're gonna splurge a little bit. I knew that I wanted to get the Switch 2 before the price rise in September, I believe. So I knew I was going to do that, and now it's just the best time. Overall, there's actually not a ton of games that I really want to play for it yet. So I was kind of inclined to maybe wait until August, but I was like, no, I have the money now, and I need to do it. I need to do it before the price rise anyway, because I'm going to want to play stuff eventually on it, even if I'm not really playing it all that much for the first couple months. There will come a time that it will be useful.
Yeah, that's like I said. It's kind of surprising. I'm surprised you also didn't go with the Donkey Kong because that was one of the few games that you had on your list. So
I mean, like it really came down to like this year versus last year, and it's like okay, I don't want to play. I mean, I don't really, I don't want to play a game from last year. Um, at least not more than I want to play a game that I did kind of want to play from this year. I did hear a lot of good things about Pokopia. It's a what is it? What do they call it? Like a relaxing life sim game. Hadn't played a Pokemon game in a while, so I was like, yeah, oh, this is a nice easy intro. I don't have to go too crazy on this game, but I can have a nice easy intro to the Switch 2 and then move on from there.
yeah, I mean, my son wants the Switch to something fierce, and I'm like, ask Grandma and Grandpa for Christmas.
Yeah,
Not sure if Santa's going to help you, but Grandma and Grandpa probably will.
Grams and Gramps, they might be able to help you, but yeah. So I don't. I mean, I'm considering Star Fox because I did. I was like, that looks kind of cool. It seems like it might be nice and simple, but I have some other things that I need to play as well. So I don't want to buy. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself anyway. Because like Star Fox is brand new, so it's going to stay at $60 for a while. There's no point in rushing around to try to buy that when I have other things to play. So probably get into Pokopia.
$60 is a great deal, man. Compared to those $80 Switch games,
I
should
mean,
be super happy.
that's like 1998 Nintendo 64, right? I mean, those games were $60, right? Am I wrong? Anyway,
They were kind of all over the place as well.
yeah.
But yeah, once again, it's well, congrats for selling your soul. But now you are our Nintendo Switch correspondent. So from here on out, any little game that comes out on multiple platforms, you now have to dedicate yourself to the worst one. Congrats.
Yeah, on a quick note on that, I was looking through some games, and they do have some pretty good deals on games. Nintendo is doing a lot better about that. Even on their own games, they will kind of if they're really old, they will give you a bit of a discount. But I was like really looking through, I was like, oh, that's kind of a good deal. That's kind of a good deal. And I was like, but wouldn't I rather just play this on PlayStation and actually get some trophies that I kind of care about? So
I hate to admit it. The trophies, I don't. So how does it go now? I don't hunt for trophies like I used to hunt for achievements. Achievements were one of those things that I really thought were stupid. I didn't quite get them until I did, and then I was like, I would go out of my way for them in a fierce way.
right,
Now, how I look at it is, if it's a game that I'm really enjoying, it will give me a to-do list. It'll make me want to go the extra mile. For example, I would have never done that with a mixtape. Absolutely not. It was not very difficult one to mop up, except for a few couple minor ones that were like annoying.
yeah,
But on the grand scheme of things, didn't take that long. But because I showed I sat through the game. I played it myself, and then I played it twice, or I saw it played two more times. I went, what? Okay, here we go. Now we're going to go ahead and finish up this and get the complete list because I put my time into it. Like I sat through, I suffered enough. And it was good. It was good enough for me to want that. But when I'm playing a game that I really do like, I was like, well, you know what? I want to try to milk this for all that it's worth. And the trophies kind of hint at, if it's a complete ending, a true ending, something like that. And then you got games like Animal Well, where like, oh, Animal Well is something fierce, and I appreciate it. I will maybe try to go for a few small things, but there's no way I can complete all that.
yeah. It's just too much, and it's like you're not going to care about achievements on every single system, like all four. Like if you have all four systems of the main systems, including Steam, it's like, what are you doing here? Like, why are you really? And I don't know why Sony kind of took over as like the main one, because I remember Xbox was like the main thing back in the day, but yeah. So you just got to pick your spot and not really care about the other ones. But I don't know. Like I just know that the PlayStation is going to run a lot of those games better. Not that Switch will run them bad, but just I know that the Pro is more powerful. It's going to run it better, so I may as well play it on that if the price isn't just exorbitantly crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the arguments to be made from, for example, the all digital PC front, where you're like, well, I got Steam, but I want to own my game. I don't want DRM. And then people are like, okay, well, then you got GOG. It's like, well, sometimes people are like, it doesn't quite run as smoothly, or there might be some other things, or the updates might not be as regular as you would on Steam. Steam really caters to like, hey, you're on our platform. We got to make sure it runs well, especially if you have the Steam Deck. Be like, yes, we make you go through certain requirements to make it optimized or whatever. And so Cyberpunk, I remember being one of those recent case studies where like people playing on Steam Deck, you can make that was at the Photon Linux browser. You can make it work GOG, but the Steam version just runs a bit better out of the box, as it were, or so out of the app.
Download, out of the app. Yeah, that's funny.
All right. Well, that's it is what it is. All right. Congrats on the Switch too. What else you got for us?
Okay, I guess I just kind of switching back over to news. I have some things I could talk about with watching, with what I've been watching, but I'll save those for later. But just jumping back over to news, possibly the next Metroid game has been, the name has been leaked. Metroid Ravenous is what they are. Is what is being talked about. The source is a Brazilian age rating firm, or the Brazilian age rating firm, and or board at least. It was only up for a few minutes, but it was a document showing, a request for age rating on this game, and it would be like a 12 and up kind of game, which kind of makes sense. Production is listed as 2026, and IGN, which is where I found this, said that they can't confirm if the document is real. So I thought it was interesting to bring up, just because if it is true, it's fairly big. But I'm a bit dubious after kind of reading through it a bit more, because Metroid Prime 4 did just come out literally last year, and pretty late last year.
To be fair, Prime 4 had been a known quantity for ages, so...
Yeah, I mean, it's been a known quantity, but it did just release last year. So... it is a thing where it's like, are they really going to want to like go back into the Metroid verse quite this quickly? Not impossible, especially if it is like a Dread situation, like if the new game is more like Dread, or more like a traditional Metroid game rather than the Prime 3D FPS type. I could see them wanting to do that. Potentially, but and like production, what does that mean? Does it mean they're just producing the game, but it's actually not going to release until 2027? That would make some more sense, But the fact that it was only up for a few minutes and that it got nabbed, I mean, it's like, I guess you have scrapers people that just scrape all of the government websites for Nintendo news, or for all the news. If a Nintendo or Sony or anything comes up, they just grab it, even if it's only up for like a few minutes. I'm just kind of like, there's just a couple things that I'm like, it's just a little bit odd, and it makes it harder to believe. If it was a year from now and we were seeing this, I'd be like, okay, this is probably legit. But since it's so close, I'm just like, I don't know. But if it is real, then Metroid Ravenous, not a bad name. I would be curious as to see, I mean, if it's on the Dread line, if like they're kind of continuing with what they did with Dread, then that would kind of fit. And it might be pretty good. I definitely enjoyed Dread quite a bit.
There was no need to buy a Switch 2 for this rumor, okay? So,
Damn it! Let me check and see if I
but
can return it.
I mean, granted, Ravenous is much better than Resurrection, Revengeance, Resurgence, whatever the F, like RE things you can think of. Um,
It's an RA
so,
word instead of an RE word.
yeah, right. Completely different. So production listed as 2026. Production being what? The start of production?
Yeah.
So therefore you're looking at 2028, 2029, which makes way more sense. You finish one game, you start spitballing and start trying to produce the next in the series. And so even though the Prime just got finished, well, even if it's another 3D game, like, Prime-esque,
So you're
so,
thinking of it as like development, whereas I was thinking of it as like producing a physical or popping out a thing, that kind of production. But you're thinking of it more as like we're just
yeah,
starting production of this thing in 2026. Then that would make a
I
lot of sense. Yeah.
I can't remember when an ESRB or like a ratings board announced something and then shortly after the thing just drops.
I guess
That's
that's, yeah.
so therefore it's like, hey, we're spitballing it, and it's usually code named. It's just, or it's like, hey, this is our placeholder. Um, Now I can see them going from something like, Ravenous to something mundane like Prime 5 because it's or Dread 2, because it'd just be boring as hell. But I mean, you got like Project Scorpio, turns out to be Xbox, but it's still like Scorpio sounded way cooler than
Helix.
Xbone.
Yeah. The
So
next phone. Yeah, I wonder why they always pick a cooler name for the prototype than the actual thing.
yeah.
Focus group.
Anyways, I knew, yeah, right. But if it's a Dread style game, it's a traditional 2D. I'm more into the 2D Metroidvania style games. That's right up my alley.
Yeah.
So I know that the last Prime game wasn't as well received, but if they make a more full and complete game, I guess, less uh, dead space, as it were.
I mean,
You know,
I think a little bit of that was maybe a tiny bit overblown because a lot of it was like the open world, which, don't get me wrong, is very important. And they should have probably tried a little bit harder to make that a bit more high fidelity. But if you look at, it's kind of a tale of two games, more or less, because if you look at the in-game puzzles and in-game or in-dungeon, more or less, puzzles and in-dungeon environments, they look pretty great. They looked really great, actually, from what I saw. It was just kind of the open world stuff. But still, yeah, I'm a little bit more excited about a traditional 2D, 2.5D situation from Metroid. I actually would be a little bit more apt to jump at that.
well, I mean, Sonic Team had the same issue with Sonic Frontier, right?
Yeah.
Going from, I mean, they've done 3D games before, but they hadn't done like the open world to that scope, and so you kind of drop the ball. Nintendo then also, I know they got a little mud in their eye when it was like, hey, by the way, if you have the amiibos, you can go ahead and get a radio on this thing, on this motorcycle. I'll be like, really?
Wow, bro.
Yeah. You're gonna make us sit here in silence, or like sit here and not like, I don't. It's
They're begging you not to play the game. That's what they're doing. Stop playing
so
the game right now.
I heard it was, from what all I've seen, it was okay. It was
Yeah.
just like, that's it. It's okay. But for what people had been waiting, forever.
A
People were
decade?
children. People were children, and then grown into adults. That's the. It's just like, what? Now, granted, I'm not going to say you're going to live up to their expectation, because if their expectation was like the previous Prime game, then like their expectations are pretty low, I guess. But still, I mean, people like the Metroid franchise or the concept as a whole. Prime has kind of fumbled a little from here and there. I'm personally not the biggest Prime fan. I liked the Metroid, remake. I like the fan game that came out a while back. Stuff like that. I think those. I'm a classic 2D person. I'm more simplistic that way, and it had the right aesthetic that I like. So I'm kind of okay with that. And if they make something akin to that, that would be really cool.
I
That would
don't
be really, really cool.
remember. I don't remember how successful Dread was, but Dread, from what I thought, was pretty dang successful. Um, Maybe it cost less to make, and so it was successful in that in that way. But but it would make sense if they want to go, if they want to kind of keep 1-2 punching this Metroid thing, because the Prime games seem to take a long time to be very difficult to make, and they're just hard. Whereas the 2.5D, traditional games are a little bit easier. It would make sense that this would be a in that style, and that they would be able to kind of get an easier interstitial game that would still sell and make a bunch of money and stuff like that, and keep the Metroid fan base, keep their appetite somewhat sated. As long as they can kind of, I don't know if anybody's really going to be asking for more Prime games. I'm just really not sure about that. But if there is a, but if they want to keep that thing going, then they have to release, something every once in a while, and they might have a bigger release like Prime, offset with whatever the traditional version is.
Yeah, so I just quick looked it up, and AI, gave me the answer of Dread was both a massive critical and commercial success, best-selling Metroid game in the entire Metroid franchise, having surpassed over 3 million copies sold globally. And then a Reddit post of 2 years ago was like, "We won," sold 3 million copies. So
Okay.
at least that was as of 2 years ago, plus an extra 2 years.
Trailing sales, yeah.
Yeah. But hey, congrats. I mean, that's kind of a good sign. And people like that format. It's very easy to digest,
Yes.
and they had added enough new things to make it warranted. So yeah, I'm okay with them making a new Metroid, especially 2D. But all right. So other for once, Nintendo possibly coming out with a good plan? Question mark.
We'll see if the Brazilian government doesn't screw it up anymore. I do want kind of wonder how much of that, like if you're a person that works for the age rating board and somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, we'll make sure that some money shows up in your account if you can just reveal something from one of these game companies like once. If you can just do that for us and you can just let us know literally like the 5 minute window that it's going to be up quote by accident, we'll make sure that a substantial amount of money appears in your account." Because like you could make a pretty good amount of money off of like the ad revenue on a news thing like this.
Well, that's been a conspiracy for a long while with studios having hacks and leaks and be like,
Yeah.
was it? This happens to you more often than others. Is it really another hack or another leak? You think by now you would have plugged your ship up, but like you're on a sinking ship at this point. You have so many leaks. So.
Yeah, I'm just like, it's a victimless crime. Everybody knows there's gonna be another Metroid game. If I'm a government worker, I can release this thing by accident for 5 minutes and get paid out. I don't know what the going rate would even be, but like, I mean, if it was like $10,000, it's like that might be enough to make me think about it, And if it ends up being legit later, I could do it once for 10K and then never again, and just go eat steak
You
dinners
do
for
it
a
for
while.
grand in hand, and you know it. You're like, here's a grand, like done.
You're being way too kind to me, Joe. I do have probably like $15.38 or whatever it costs to eat at Wendy's.
Yeah,
These
I was
days.
thinking Burger King, but yeah, close enough. So yeah, it's like you got 25 on you. Yeah, we're good. You got me gift card. Cool. We're good to go.
Yeah, well, I'll do
Anyways,
whatever the fuck you want. Anyway, I just saw this. I just thought it's a little bit weird. That was the only other thing that I wanted to mention.
yeah. Well, I mean, no such thing as bad publicity. So, and once again, it gets it back. It's one of those litmus tests, right? Where people like, they drop something and they're like, hey, okay, people are interested. cool. We got the all clear. Once again, I'm thinking production as in we're starting production in 2026. So you
Yeah.
got 2-3 years. I don't know how many years it took for this current prime to come out. So 16 or 18 or something like that.
We only have to
So
wait like 15 years.
the the Switch
You're
the Switch 3 comes out at the tail end, and then you get your good Metroid game. So
yeah.
all right, what else you got for us, bro?
All right. This other stuff is fairly short and sweet. So closing up the Subnautica 2, hopefully, the Subnautica 2 story. Subnautica 2's Subnautica 2 developers' entire staff get bonuses, and the CEO, Ted Gill, steps down. There's a settlement from Krafton to dismiss all legal proceedings, but part of that settlement was that the CEO, Ted Gill, had to step down. At least that's what's being reported. I found that kind of strange, but I guess Krafton was kind of like, I don't know. Actually, honestly, don't know who asked for that, because
I think the staff would be. The staff would be like, we'll take our money, but also we're not going to work for you under that guy. So according to what AI just told me, we need to have him step down.
okay, I thought the staff would be on Ted Gill's side because they would be his staff.
Wasn't he the one who ended up stopping, like asking, though the whole AI joke was asking AI, how do I mess over my employees?
No, because I was a Korean guy, and I don't think Ted Gill is Korean. I could be wrong.
No,
Is Gill a
but
Korean name?
not that I'm aware of.
You're our resident expert
A resident
Korean.
Korean person. I'm like, I've never met a Gil before, but hey, mixed families are all around. So
Yeah, I was under the impression that he was the Subnautica, like, actual in-house developer or CEO or whatever.
okay, so it might be them. It might be the switch of like, okay, according to AI, I can pay you guys, but then we need to cut off the head of the serpent of resistance,
Ye-
and hopefully that now that the head's gone, the rest of you guys will fall in line and won't ever like try to uprise against your overlords.
I think that's part of it. I think that's probably like the hopeful part of it for Crafton, but I think that it's a little bit like we want our pound of flesh. Like, yeah, you got us. We tried to screw you over. Quote royal we here, because it was just really that guy, that other idiot CEO of Crafton, who tried to screw you over. You got us. We're having to pay you guys out all this money, which we were going to have to anyway. But now you've kind of smeared our name. Not that it's really your fault, but we have to get something back for this, and we need that guy to be gone just so that we can kind of say we did something here. On the other hand, I'm kind of like, that guy's probably like, I don't want anything to do with any of you people. I don't care that you say that it was just that one rogue CEO that was stupid enough to put all this into a AI prompt. I want out of here. I'm just here because I'm trying to get, like, me and my people our money and finish this job that we did. So I want out of here. And so I'm putting it into the settlement, and you guys can spend it however you want, but I just want out. I mean, I could see that being the case as well. I really don't know, but I just thought that was sort of an interesting wrinkle to all this. But otherwise, an interesting wrinkle to this otherwise kind of happy ending for the developers in this case.
Yeah. So the answer to the crafting question beforehand was Changhan Kim. That's the
Yeah.
person, the CEO you're thinking about. Yeah, at least congrats to the people who need to get paid, getting paid.
Yeah.
Use that investment to move on. Chances are what's going to happen, a lot of people are going to jump ship if they can, depending on contracts, jump ship and form their own studio. Watch. This is my guess. If they're a tight knit group, they've just gone through a lot of issues. They're like, hey, we got our money. Let's invest. Let's make our own studio. Let's be our own boss. I can see that coming up and maybe something really good coming from it. At least that's what I hope. So
Yeah, I think Ted Gill's probably going to go off and do his own thing and just create another, maybe not Subnautica, but maybe something similar, and probably make a bunch of money that way too. But it remains to be seen. Subnautica 2 seems like it's already a pretty big success. Still in early access. Once it does hit 1.0, I mean, by that point, it's going to be, massively successful. And then people probably move around, but it'll probably be, 5 years before that, all shakes out.
okay. Well, what else you got for us, man?
All right. Onimusha, Way of the Sword release date has been moved up 3 weeks to September 4th. It was like September 20th or something like that, and they moved it up to September 4th. The article I was reading said that the Capcom, wisely or whatever, wants to get out of the way of the log jam that GTA 6 has created. Everything's trying to come out in September, and if they can't come out in September, they're trying to come out, at the very least in October. What is it called? Phantom Blade, I think that's what it's called. That sort of emo samurai game is a way that I'll kind of refer to it. Phantom Blade Zero, maybe.
Phantom Blade Zero is the name.
Yeah, that is the bravest game I've seen, and it's like October 20th or 15th or 28th.
October 28th. Yep.
28th, yeah. October 28th. That is literally the latest game that I've seen. I don't think I've seen anything else even try to release in November at all. Like not even November 1, November 5, anything like that. Even though GTA 6 is coming out November 18. So everything else is trying to get in September or early October, just so they can truly be clear of it, because people are going to start saving their money for a few paychecks to actually be able to afford the $80 version, at least, of GTA 6. So
you mean the base version, not the $80 version, the bare minimum.
Both are true, but yes, semantically, yes, the base version of $80. So Onimusha, Capcom, I mean, I don't want to say Capcom can do no wrong, but they've done a lot of good things this year, and I think this is probably pretty smart for them to move up a little bit. It also makes people happy. People are gonna be like, oh yeah, I get to play this game a little earlier now. I'm sure it's been done, for this game is done and has been done for a few months now, maybe. So smart on them. But yeah, just want to bring that up.
Yeah, that's always good to hear when the team can actually release the game earlier than expected, and it's just overall it's like, yay, they didn't crunch to death. So.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see whenever the game actually comes out. If it's like a buggy, horrible mess, then we'll know that they needed those extra 3 weeks. All right. Next up, Cyberpunk has sold 40 million copies. That's kind of wild to me. I mean, I knew it was a popular game and it was a big deal, but I really thought that the kerfuffle, all the problems that they had would have really made that, not sell quite that bad. They would have hampered sales early on. But I guess people just bought it and then waited for them to fix it, or didn't, But 40 million sales, that's quite the milestone. Kind of makes me want to go buy it and play it. Kind of.
You might have it on PlayStation Plus. So
you might be right. I might have it.
At least the base game. And I was going to say, it hit 40 million copies. Woo! Go Steam sale. I know GOG usually goes on sale pound for pound for when Steam goes on sale. But,
okay, that's what you're saying.
So it's currently Steam sale is going on, but at the same time, I have it wish listed on GOG, and it lets me know often. I just realized I don't have the amount of time to play the complete edition.
How long is this game?
As
60, 100?
Yeah.
I mean, just to get through the main main story, like how long? I wonder how long that would actually be. I would think at least 40-ish hours. Um, main plus sides being 60 or 70. I don't know.
Yeah. So how long to beat? Let's see here. It's the AI tells me it's 25 to 30 hours.
For the
Uh,
main?
for the main story.
Okay, that's pretty good.
How long to beat website says main story 26, main plus sides 63. The
There's
average how
probably,
long to
yeah.
beat time is 65 and a half, or 108 to completionist. So
So you're talking about probably if you try to kind of go quickly without literally only doing the things you have to do, 50, let's just round down to like 50 hours. 50-hour game. If you're gonna kind of mosey on through that with enjoying yourself, but let's be real, you're trying to get this shit done. Yeah.
put a asterisk in there because that is for the base game. Because now
Oh
you're
no.
that's you're also forget that the whole DLC came out, which is so the Ultimate Edition, which is the only edition that you should probably want to play,
Yeah, of course.
because it offers some really cool stuff. Is you're looking at 40 hours main, main plus sides 83 and a half, overall average 90 and a half, or 128 hours for completionist. Now, this game, you could do the mistake of, hey, if you accidentally started the DLC quest and then you choose to ignore it, thinking it'll forever be on standby, you'll eventually get a message being like, hey, you missed your opportunity. DLC's done. And you failed.
No way, that's a real thing.
Yes, yes. So you can't just like side catalog the thing. I was like, I'll wait till I started it, but I'll wait till the very end, and and then
You
go into
have
it.
to.
Once you
What?
start it, there is a certain amount of time before the DLC is considered done because it is an emergency call when you start the mission. Uh,
Wow.
it's essentially it's Escape from New York. The president plane goes down, kind of deal. Like I don't know, I forget. I don't know if it's the president or corporate. Anyways, um, so you have a timeline, but also you want to go through the DLC because you get some really good stuff out of it that goes into the main game, and then really makes that much more complete. So, anyways, yeah, I people have very short term memories with this game, and most people didn't suffer through the worst version like the PS 4 version like I did, and most people waited, like or they bought it, waited for a little bit, and then went ahead and played it on a PC, even though
Yeah.
it's janky then, or a PS5 when they happened to have a PS5 early. So what I did was, uh, it was really broken and busted, and so I used to exploit in my early games, and I went ahead and uh, got a lot of currency out of it, saved my game, and then eventually, when they made it so you can you do cross saves, I uploaded my save and then I pulled it to the PS5, so I still have my save data available. Yeah,
Good
you
for you.
can't. They patched out the exploit since, but I am pre. My character is pre patch, so at least I'm sitting on a little mountain of currency early game with that specific character. But yeah, I've and then I can access that save from any system. Once again, I think personally, PlayStation was an okay system to play it on, or the PS5 at least. PC is probably going to be the overall best because it has the longest longevity. Plus, you can have all the fun mods. Um, Now, to compare this to The Witcher 3 has sold over 65 million copies worldwide, but we're also talking about like much longer shelf life.
Yeah.
That number is as of like last month or something like that,
Yeah.
relatively recently. So
Yeah. I just don't like that. Like I really hope that CD Projekt Red did not learn the wrong lesson from this. They've made a lot of money. Good for them. I don't want them to release their next game in a buggy, horrible, broken mess. I mean, every game has bugs when it comes out. I get it. It makes sense. This Cyberpunk was egregious. and I don't know when was like the first stable version, but it was at least 6 months. It was at least 6 months after initial release before it was stable enough to be, like an acceptable, and I use that word lightly, acceptable playing experience. And it was more like a year before it was like, okay, this game is in its proper state. And I just hope that they that the next game that they make, what was it, The Witcher 4 or something? Isn't that what's coming out next? I just hope that it's, that it's in a better state.
Without a doubt, I think it was an outlier. CD Projekt Red hadn't fumbled the ball like that in its history up until
They
that
weren't
point.
used to making FPSs. It was a different genre of game. I get it. There's a lot of reasons that they kind of made the mistakes they did. I just really, like, as a studio, I just really respect them because of what they have done, and I don't want them to kind of learn things the wrong way.
No, what they did is they did the right thing. They stood by their product. And then they continued to build off of it, continued to give and like love the project opposed to abandoning it.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
fair. That's
so
fair.
like opposed to Anthem, you got something more akin to like No Man's Skies or a bunch of other Ubisoft, you know, um, online games where like they come out a little weak and then eventually continue to get lots of love, continue and continuously for a long time. And then eventually people are like, dang, you're still doing this stuff. Like, some people are like, from the beginning, like, I've been here since day one. Woo. And the other people are like, you know what? I respect the fact that you're still doing that. I'm willing to check this out now. And, so they've kind of wiped the slate clean despite how bad they fumbled it. But it took a long time. Now imagine if that stuff came out just working, not doesn't have to be at peak condition, but so long as just as a non-broken janky ass product, it would have done so much better.
Yeah.
So I think they learned from their mistakes. They're going to go ahead and at least I have high hopes, and I it's not a matter of like whether I forgive them because I sat through that bull crap of having peak characters not
They've
spawn
already
in or
got your
during
money.
cutscenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like, but at the same time, I was also kind of curious, like, well, how much of that is like, like, do they count PlayStation Plus downloads as
Hmm.
purchases? I was just out of this spitballing. But once again, the I know a lot of people play that on like Steam Deck and stuff like that. I think I tried liking The Witcher 1 and 2,
Yeah.
and I realized those early games were really rough. Witcher 3 is probably the most mainstream and probably well received. Cyberpunk was way more my type of game, and I was so excited about that. Now, at the end of how many years since release, I like Cyberpunk better than Witcher, but that's just because I like that world. I
Yeah.
prefer sci-fi over fantasy, and I think The Witcher for the next whatever the code name. It's like code name Polaris. Um, so
Yeah.
you know, anyways, they're gonna sell gangbusters. They have to really mess up again. And the thing is, I think you get one free pass.
Yeah.
That's it. If they do it again, then instantly you're gonna be like red flagged. But so long as they make up for it by the end, people have short term memories. They only remember the most, it's like, so they won't remember the beginning, they'll remember the end. And then some people are like, well, they'll try to remind you of it. And they'll be like, yeah, that's okay. You're just one person. Everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah. As long as the next couple games are pretty clean, they'll they'll recover and it won't become quite as much of a pattern. But I think they've got to have whatever the next game is, and then the game after that have to be pretty clean before they can, realistically screw up again.
Because it's supposed to be Witcher 4, Witcher remake, or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, then I don't know if it's Cyberpunk 2 or who knows.
I
But
mean, you got to think Cyberpunk 2 is in the works with 40 million
there was a
sales.
docket or something. There was something out there that said there's supposed to be a Witcher 5 before Cyberpunk 2, and I'm like, that sounds terrible. I
Wow.
bu-
So we're looking at Cyberpunk 2 in like 2041, something like that.
Uh, yeah, just start saying numbers to make it more sound more sci-fi.
I mean, yeah, we're gonna be in 2070 for the next Cyberpunk if we're not careful. It's gonna have to be in the year 21 something for it to be reasonably futuristic. But yeah. Anyway, so speaking of Cyberpunk, Apple TV teases a Neuromancer adaptation. So I listened to the audiobook for Neuromancer probably less than a year ago for the first time. Neuromancer, people don't really know too much about it, is kind of the progenitor, the original cyberpunk, one of the original cyberpunk, if not the original cyberpunk pieces of media. It was a book that came out, I think, in the 80s, maybe the 60s. I can't remember exactly.
It came out mid 80s. It was
Okay,
so William Gibson is the
Gibson, yeah.
author. One of the godfathers of the whole cyberpunk genre. Yeah, without a doubt. This tried getting adaptations before. This has been, I'm kind of cool. I'm happy with this. I actually have the book upstairs in my library. I read it without realizing what it was or how significant, I should say, what it was at the time.
Mm.
And yeah, I didn't realize you had gone through the audiobook though. That's
I did, here, in 2025, I think is when I did it. And, yeah, I'm excited. I think Apple TV does a pretty good job with, usually with, handling TV shows. They have a pretty good slew of TV shows. So I'm excited that they are handling it instead of like Amazon Prime. I would have a lot less faith in Amazon. They just don't have quite as good of a track record, though they have good shows and it could be good with them, or Netflix. And Netflix would be a different thing too. But I think Apple TV doing it is sort of up their alley. It kind of makes sense. The work itself, I'm a little bit dubious on because it's kind of like the Ghost in the Shell of, I mean, not Ghost in the Shell is Cyberpunk, but it's a bit like Ghost in the Shell, whereas Ghost in the Shell did a lot of, as a manga and then an anime, did a lot of things first, and then everybody came and ate off of that. And so when they made like the movie, whitewashing aside, the live action movie, the whitewashing aside, it just didn't really hit the same. And I kind of think that we're there with Neuromancer. Neuromancer came first. Johnny Mnemonic, was basically taking Neuromancer and just, redistributing it wholesale. Same with The Matrix, same with many others. So there's a lot of old ideas that are from Neuromancer, and I just don't know how well that's going to carry over into an actual TV series. But maybe they'll be able to do it right. Maybe they'll make it somewhat retro, even though it's futuristic, kind of like an alt history sort of thing. That could be good. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be paying attention, and I'll be looking out for this.
yeah, this was like start of a trilogy. I never read the third, but it was like
Yeah, I
this
didn't.
and like Count Zero or something like that. Counter Zero, Count Zero. I think it's Count Zero. Um, but then I never did the third one, which was I can't remember off the top of my head. Oh, this was back in high school that
Yeah.
I remember going through it. And yeah, like I said, Gibson. It's like the people you usually go to off the top of your head, like, oh yeah, Gibson and Dick. Like Philip K. Dick,
Yeah.
Cyberpunk. Uh, it's like, but William Gibson most definitely.
Yeah, I
Uh,
guess Philip K. Dick with like Blade Runner and stuff, but like the modern idea of like jacking in and the net,
that was
was
that
yeah.
was from that was from Gibson's prior work, Burning Chrome.
Okay, yeah.
So it's just once again, I think I got those books for free. They were like they were
They're pretty cheap nowadays.
like a
Yeah.
job. It was like a drop off coffee shop kind of like a thing. Like, hey, you leave one, take one thing or something like that at the USO or something. And I'm like, all right, cool. So that's how I ended up getting a hold of Neuromancer. And I was like, yeah, it's I remember being really cool and being like, but at the same time, I'm like, I had watched things a lot more Cyberpunk that I didn't realize was influenced by, so
Yeah.
Johnny Mnemonic being one of my childhood classic, like that weird movies and like, hey,
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves doing this weird thing. I still recommend watching Johnny Mnemonic. It's what
It's
was it? Ice T's in it, I think.
he is, yeah.
like and like Dolph Lundgren or maybe I think is in it too. Maybe not Dolph Lundgren. Oh no, someone who plays a Dolph Lundgren character. It
Okay.
was the preacher guy. It was just like I'm going to be like this like mountain of a man, but it was just funny. Though Takeshi Kitano or Beat Takeshi, he's the Japanese interaction with Keanu Reeves in the very beginning. I'm like I just remember that and being like the amount of hard drive space he has in his brain is so little in comparison to
It's like
nowadays.
megabytes. It's like my brain is gonna break because I've got 6 megabytes in my skull right now. It's so hilarious. But I mean, it's not a good movie, but it's a great movie because of how just wild it is and how it just like led straight into the Matrix and just how it's kind of prophetic, like we're like Elon Musk's Neuralink is pretty much going that direction. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. Anyways, that's cool though. I'm glad that uh someone who is at least you think that they would give it the time of day and the appropriate love and affection that it deserves.
Yeah.
To the very end, I can feel confident that no matter how bad it might be, it will still be okay. So
Yeah, it just
at worst, I think it'd be like, yeah, it's okay. Like
every once in a while they don't really put they don't really believe in the script, and so they don't put all that much money into it. But so it depends on which kind of apple we get, but they usually try pretty hard, and so I'm fairly confident. There's only one other thing that I want to talk about, and that's this bar graph that Kotaku put out. Basically, the total cost of console and game adjusted for inflation. And the game that they use is the base game and the base model for Grand Theft Auto and the PlayStation 5. And the PlayStation through all the years essentially. And what you see from the graph, you can go check it out on Kotaku, but just kind of explaining what it is that Grand Theft Auto 1 on the PlayStation was $415. GTA 2 on the PlayStation was $298. So you're talking about the console and the game, just as a bundle kind of here. And like the reason why it drops between 415 to 298 is because the PlayStation was older by the time GTA 2 came out, and so it costs a lot less. Grand Theft Auto.
Are they adding? So I think there are also probably any price reductions, any revisions. So in that case, you eventually had the PSONE 1, the
Yeah.
smaller version, which was generally cheaper. That makes sense. That it'd be overall a easier barrier to entry. So those games are probably the same price, out of the box.
I mean, yeah. Basically, what they're doing is like it seems like, I don't know for sure, but it seems like they are going like, when the game is released, the price you could get the bundle for. I mean, if you bundled it yourself, not that they sold it that way, but just if you went out and bought the console with the game, this is where you'd land. And then Grand Theft Auto 3, console plus game. This is when the PlayStation 2 is pretty much brand new, I guess. And that was $660 adjusted for inflation. That's like how much it would be today. Obviously, it didn't cost that much back then, but that's the adjustment. Grand Theft Auto Vice City, $462. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, this is also for the PlayStation 2, $351 adjusted for inflation for in terms of today's dollars. So that's when the PlayStation 2 is like literally at the very end of its life, and they released that game. Grand Theft Auto 4. This is on the PS. This is on the PlayStation 3. And that was $561. So both, so that's pretty new. The PlayStation 3 is still pretty new. Grand Theft Auto is brand new. Grand Theft Auto 5, $515. So about a $50 price reduction. But
All right, wait. I'm going to stop you right here. So they only have the one version of Grand Theft Auto 5. They're showing Grand Theft Auto 5 PS3 version. So that's when it first released. Though they also, I feel like they made tweaks to Grand Theft Auto 5. They gave it the first person mode, and that was supposed to be for PS4.
Right.
So I feel like they should have had that version in there too, just because a whole new version, like the way to experience the game was added.
And they're trying
But
to
I'll,
control for like very like day one release what you can get it for, or maybe the
yeah.
cheapest that you could possibly get it for.
Well, I know the joke that's been going around is the PS2 had 3 Grand Theft Auto games, and then the Grand Theft Auto 5 had 3 PlayStations.
Oh
So
yeah, that's funny. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So yeah, 515.
515. Yeah.
The 515 for Grand Theft Auto 5, and then $680 for Grand Theft Auto 6 with the PlayStation 5 base model. And so that is higher than it's been since GTA 3, which honestly is pretty surprising that GTA 3, but like the argument is that GTA 3 came out when the PlayStation 2 was the biggest console in the world, was still pretty much brand new.
DVDs were new. It was
And
the
DVDs
cheapest
were new.
DVD player you can get was a PlayStation 2.
You were getting a ton of value, blah blah, and a CD player too. Don't forget that, which is whatever. So you're getting a ton of value. Everything was brand new. The PlayStation 5 is 6 years old, nearly 6 years old now. And so it's definitely not brand new. We should have a cheaper version, historically, but we don't. And that's the point they're trying to make, is like it's more expensive now when it should be not this expensive, when it should be reasonably a few dollars cheaper than literally the perfect storm that Grand Theft Auto 3 essentially created. And I see where they're coming from. It does make sense. And if you look at the graph, if you go look at the graph, you can see that there is an upward trend with GTA 3 being an outlier and everything else just basically slowly going up as you purchase, base model and the game. And
that's with GTA 4 being on the PlayStation 3, which was the console famously noted that people will get a second job for.
That they asked you to get a second job for. Yeah. So if you did get a second job for PlayStation 3, hopefully you kept it and you still have it going into the launch of GTA 6.
Oh, dude, that OG version, the launch of the big fat model, that actually played that had a functioning PS2 inside of it. So it played PS1, PS2, and the PS3 games. Later, they removed that stuff. So it removed capabilities from it, and it became a lesser version. But they made it smaller and just overall more convenient, I guess.
That is kind of one of my big
tray.
regrets from gaming is not being rich and having the money to buy a literal launch PS3. Just because, that thing was a behemoth. It's kind of an outlier in its design. Like they went that way, and they went the other way. The PS2 and then the PS3 Slim are a lot closer in design to me than the PS3 base, original launch model.
Yeah, well, there was two Slims. There was the first Slim for the PS3, which still had the disc that you slid in,
I had
and then
that.
there
Yeah.
was the last version, which you had the sliding top, where it slid.
Yeah, I've seen those. Those are
Most people
weird.
forget
I didn't
about
even
that.
know those came out, and I went to like this game over game store that we have down here. It's like a used game store, and I saw somebody opening that up for the first time, and I was like, "What in the world is that?" And I was like, "Wow, I totally missed." I was like out of the country or whatever, just not paying attention whenever those things were coming out.
Yeah, I gave up my old fat PlayStation 3 and I sold it to a buddy of mine because I got the Slim only because I was going overseas and I'm like, I need the space in my
Yeah,
luggage and I'm not going to play. I know I'm not going to play those old games. I have a PS2 to play the PS2 and PS1 games. I don't need the PS3 to do that stuff. I'm
yeah,
fine. And yeah, so I have the first rendition of the Slim. But anyways, that's a fun little article. Uh, they did it with solely with PlayStation. I kind of wish they did it with some. Granted, PlayStation was the one that housed the first handful of GTA games, but I'm curious what it would have been like for like the Xbox as well for the
yeah.
later editions. Uh, but yeah, once again, yeah, it's never been a worse time to be a console gamer.
Yeah, it's tough, but it's just kind of like this is sort of why Steam has gathered power over the past decade, especially, and really 2 decades, is because consoles have continually pushed, people. Like I can't tell you how many, you know, comments that I've read on a lot of these articles that were just like, "Yeah, I'm just going to PC. I'm just going to PC. It's better. It's cheaper. I control things that I buy more, maybe not completely, but I control it more. I have more options, and it's the best experience overall." I mean, yeah, if you've got a $5,000 PC, uh, sure, I'll give you that. I don't think that there's a lot of people that really can say that that's the best experience for what they can afford, but yeah, it's definitely pushing people in that direction, and that's why Valve continues to grow in power and in name.
I mean, that argument flip flops back and forth.
Yeah,
PC gaming's dead. Console gaming's dead. And when that side gets a new thing,
the other
then
side's
they
dead. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. New GPUs. Well, that's why consoles are dead. It's just like, or when there's a bad PC port, they're like, yeah, of course PC's dead. It's just like it doesn't. Everyone has to pick a side. Everyone has to make sure their side they're valid to get themselves validated from picking that side. I'm like, yeah, just grow up. But
yeah,
as far as
yeah,
it's just like we no matter what, the corporations win and we as consumers lose until we actually make a voice, which we won't because that takes too much effort. And yeah, so that's all there is to it. So just suck it up, pay your money, move on. Uh, that's yeah,
there's your episode title right there.
yeah. Well, I mean, and with the thumbnail of you holding your Switch too, yeah, it's. I mean, listen, GTA 6. I wouldn't pay $80 for it. I wouldn't pay $100 for it. Uh, I would wait till it came out to the library and played it. But the problem, my argument is, I
Can you
paid for.
imagine? Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know. I paid for GTA 5, and the last game I actually completed was 4. I played 4, beat 4, thought it was a good game. A lot of dead, emptiness in in the actual gameplay itself. There's like the DLC was really solid. Um, But as far as GTA 5, I've tried playing that game a number of times, and I only make it like halfway through, and I just always end up bouncing off of it. There's just something about it that just did not mesh with me. I think it's the characters. I think there was just enough of the characters that I didn't care about,
Yeah,
and I wish like it was fun being able to switch between them, but at the same time, I just didn't want to. I just wasn't as invested. So I'm kind of curious by having this be a couple that their lives are like one opposed to three separate people leading three separate lives having three separate problems because I found myself more interested in only I can't even remember their names anymore other than Trevor being the psychopath, which I really just didn't care about his story arc at all. So the young the the young kid in GTA 5. He was the only I liked his story because it's like he's living at home with an aunt who's just kind of mooching off his house and his mom, like her, like the what she left behind. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I like to see him climb the ranks, and that's kind of like what GTA was all about. It's like starting from nothing, becoming somebody. I didn't want to watch a burnt out has been try to do their thing. I'm like, yeah. So with this, you're watching the couple start theoretically go through their issues, and I'm like, hey, this might be fun. This might be interesting. It might have a solid cohesive story, and but Rockstar does a lot of neat things that I give them props for, but it's just also a little too much. Like the stock market stuff. I'm like, yeah, that's really cool. But there's a certain point where like I don't have time to mess with that. I don't care enough. It's like Breath of the Wild being like, yeah, if you stasis some rocks and you hit them a bunch, you can rocket yourself to the other end of the map. That's dope. I'm not gonna play with that.
Yeah,
So
there comes a point where you're just like, I just got to get on and finish this game, bro. Like, I mean, 60 hours is plenty. You know, if you're talking about me doing all kinds of other crazy stuff that I don't really necessarily need to do just for time's sake, yeah, it's just not really going to happen. But I have a lot of confidence. I mean, GTA 6 is probably going to be one of the best games of the decade. Um, it's going to be wild. But yeah. Anyway, that's all I had.
all right. Well, guys, if you made it to the end of this, we appreciate it. This has been another Dead Pixel, episode 182. Despite all our technical difficulties, we still made it all the way through. And Nick, what are some words of wisdom you have for the people out there today?
Um, don't hold the firework in your hand when it goes off. Just don't do it.
Tape it to a stick. Don't give it to a sibling. Do not give the firework to a sibling. Um, you know,
Legally, we have to say that.
uh, honestly, like you might want to remove yourself from that uncle too. Just saying. Uh,
Okay. Just remove yourself from the uncle.
you know, and any take that as you will. But okay, guys. Until next time, this is ADP. Y'all take it easy.
Bye.